we have prepared for all scenarios. We have gone through the different likelihoods of how this will play out. We are all prepared. Everything we endure is nothing compared to what the Palestinians endure, and so we are willing to take those risks. Yes, every person on the boat has gone through training. We've, we know what's happened in previous missions. We know what they've done on previous boats. We've all watched the footage. We all trained in non-violent action, so we know that, we just have to remain calm, remain peaceful, and unfortunately comply with the illegal activity on our boats. So, we won't accept that it's not, as much as we're fighting for humanitarian corridor to be opened, we're also advocating for the total liberation of Palestine. That means that Palestinian self-determination for Gaza and the rest of Palestine.
This is a Mega India Today Global exclusive. With the Global Sumud Flotilla, boats with humanitarian aid that are headed towards Gaza, with the boats now approaching Gaza, what's really going to happen? Will they be intercepted by the Israeli forces, and would there be arrests and detentions? There are activists, many of them on board, and I'm being joined by one of those activists from the flotilla that's moving towards and inching towards Gaza. Basheera Soomar, thank you so much for joining us here on India Today Global. This is a huge effort. You're part of the Global Sumud Flotilla. First, describe your journey up until now and the difficulties you and all the others have faced up until now.
Hi, thank you for having me. So yes, I'm one of the organizers for the Global Sumud Flotilla, and we've been planning this for about 3 months now. It's been a lot to plan in such a short time frame. We have about 50 boats on water, and we had 3 to 4 different ports that boats were departing from. So it was very pressurized with a lot of challenges. We had to train over 600 people in a couple of weeks to be prepared for this. It's the biggest ever flotilla mission that anyone has ever attempted. So it's been very challenging, very time pressured, but what we've managed in this short time frame is incredible, and we are now sailing about 50 boats of us together, and we're just outside of 200 nautical miles outside of Gaza.
Right. Bashira, can you just show us around? You're there on a boat. What does this entire flotilla look like? The boats and the people around, the waters. Just show us around. Let us take a look at the visuals.
So we are a little bit dispersed. The boats are a little bit dispersed, so you can see them in the distance. There's some sailing boats around. Some of the people on the boat, and then there's some boats on the side as well.
Okay, this is a massive effort with a lot of aid. How did you all manage the logistics? How did you all manage putting all this aid together and organizing the flotilla with so many boats?
So we actually a coalition of 3 different movements. It's a massive civilian-led movement. We are part of the global movement to Gaza. So actually went to the march in Cairo in June this year. And so we joined forces with both the Freedom Flotilla Coalition and the Sumud Convoy. There's been hundreds of us organizing together. In terms of aid, look, every boat carries some humanitarian aid on it, but the idea is to offload that aid onto the Gaza shore once we get there. But we know that aid is not enough. There's just some aid on 50 boats. It's not going to touch sides. What our main objective is to actually open up permanent humanitarian corridors, so that once we get to the shore, once we deliver aid, it allows other vessels to come in to deliver aid by sea. It allows the land border to open to deliver aid via land, and that's our main objective for doing this.
Now, you must be aware, Bashira, that a meeting took place between President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu. There's absolute clarity when it comes to West Bank, where President Trump has said that he will not allow annexation. But there's also clarity about Gaza, that they will go ahead with the plans, that there is a plan in place. How, according to you, does the future look for the people of Gaza, for the people of Palestine? And how do activists like you have been fighting for a Palestinian state for so long? How do you see this?
Yeah. So, we won't accept that it's not, as much as we're fighting for humanitarian corridor to be opened, we're also advocating for the total liberation of Palestine. That means that Palestinian self-determination for Gaza and the rest of Palestine. Um, we won't stop until total liberation is achieved. Even if they accept the flotilla onto the shores of Gaza, if they plan to go ahead with annexation, and if the US and the Western forces and the allies plan to still remain in Palestine, we will continue. We will continue our activism efforts. We will continue our advocacy. We will continue our civilian-led movement until we see the total liberation.
There have been some threats and statements that have come out of Israel that there will be no network available to the flotilla. Have you faced any of the networks being jammed across the entire flotilla up until now through the journey? Has there been any case on any of the days of you or your team members not getting network to be able to connect to the world?
Yes, it's been fine up until now. So what's happened with previous flotillas is when we reach closer to the what we call the danger zone or the red zone, it's about 100 nautical miles outside of the Gaza shore. That's when the internet goes down, when they start tampering with the connection, etc. We're still just over 200 nautical miles out, so all our Starlinks are up and running. We have connection with the outside world. We are in communication. We're able to do these interviews and conversations. But we do expect that as we get closer, we will lose connection. And yes, that the internet and the link to the outside world is obviously a layer of protection for us. So we try to maintain it as close as possible.
There was some wait, but after which the boats left the Tunisian shores, and now you're headed to Gaza. How long before you reach the danger zone where, in all probability, the boats will be intercepted?
Yes. So interception can happen anything from 150 nautical miles out based on previous missions. That could be in a few hours. It could be in the next 24 hours. We don't really know what they're planning, but we are reaching the danger zone imminently by the end of the day, early tomorrow.
Bashira, are you prepared? What's the preparation for a circumstance where Israeli forces could board the boats or intercept them? There have been such cases in the flotillas that have gone towards Gaza in the past as well. Is there a plan in place?
Yes, every person on the boat has gone through training. We know what's happened in previous missions. We know what they've done on previous boats. We've all watched the footage. We all trained in non-violent action. So we know that, we just have to remain calm, remain peaceful, and unfortunately comply with the illegal activity on our boats. But every person has gone through training before boarding the boats. We also do daily training on the boats, just to reinforce the protocol that needs to be put in place once that happens.
From what we've seen in the past, the expectation is that not all of the boats will reach Gaza. Is there any hope that any of these boats will actually reach Gaza?
I mean, majority of the boats, the aim is to reach Gaza. There's maybe one or two, like the legal observer boat, that won't reach. But majority of the boats are going with the aim of reaching Gaza.
Are there others on your boat who would be willing to speak with us and share their experience, Bashira?
Sure. Let me just... Ruhi? Can you join the interview? Sorry? Can you join the interview?
Hello?
Hi. Is that Ruhi?
Hello?
I said, is that Ruhi?
Yes, it's Ruhi speaking.
Ruhi, just wanted to know what made you join this effort, this aid flotilla.
The reason that I joined this flotilla is because the genocide is happening to the people of Palestine and Gaza, and it's our duty to care. It's our duty to do something and act today. The people of today and for the children of tomorrow, to leave a better world for them. And nobody's free unless Palestine is free.
All right. How much aid are you carrying, and do you, like I asked Bashira this also, do you have any hope that this aid will actually reach Gaza?
So there's about 42 to 44 vessels with aid. and I would say maybe 42 pallets worth. We don't know for sure because it depends from the size of the vessel and the capacity, but it carries different aid from medical aid to baby formula to food items. And our hope is to reach Gaza, otherwise we wouldn't be carrying it.
Right. But Ruhi, you do know that most of the boats will be intercepted when you get closer to the Gazan shores or a few nautical miles away.
I think there is never 100% certainty, otherwise we wouldn't be traveling with this many vessels and resources and aid. There is always hope.
There's always hope, but very difficult circumstances over here. Just share your challenges like Bashira did about your entire journey, if you could.
Challenges have been sort of mechanical issues with vessels to logistical issues, some organizational issues. Many people have left behind jobs and families, but it's nothing compared to what's happening to the people in Gaza. So we are willing to overcome that and go steadfast.
Thank you, Ruhi. Thank you for joining us here. If I could go back to Bashira. Bashira, a lot of narrative today that many people around the world have only followed what's happening in Palestine since October 7th. And for many, that date is a marker and the reason why Israel is doing what it is doing. Tell our viewers a bit of the history of flotillas, that this is not the first time an aid blockade has occurred or has been imposed on Gaza, that it is a recurring phenomenon and that this is not the first flotilla.
Yes, so I mean, look, we people coming from over 50 different countries from all over the world to see ports, you know. One of the ports was Barcelona. Obviously, only people from the global north could get there. Everyone else had to go to Tunis because of visa issues. So there were just logistical issues of getting people to the right places. And then in terms of boats as well, you know, we didn't have a lot of time to scout boats to properly pay. So maybe one or two of the boats, you know, weren't mechanically viable towards the end, and then we had to move people around on boats. One of our main boats, called the family boat, it couldn't go further in the journey. So yesterday, everyone on the family boat had to be redistributed to other boats. But you know, because we are a big fleet, we've managed to manage those issues quite well. But those are just some of the types of logistical issues that we've been facing before departure, but also while at sea.
Bashir, also there's a plan in place for Gaza by the United States and by Israel. It seems the world in many ways is going to fail the people of Palestine in the just cause of a state. How do you, the people who are fighting for Gazans, look at this entire situation right now where the most powerful country has backed Israel, specifically backed Netanyahu?
And I mean, Gaza has been under blockade for 17 years, but I mean, Palestine has been occupied and under ethnic cleansing since 1948. So the first flotilla went out in 2008 and it actually reached the shores of Gaza. That was, I think they went with about 5 boats. That was the only flotilla to make it to the shore of Gaza. Since then, there's been multiple attempts. In 2010, the Mavi Marmara went. That's when, you know, there were casualties. The Israeli forces actually killed some people on board. In 2016, there was a women's boat to Gaza. They didn't make it. They were also intercepted. All boats have been intercepted. There were 3 attempts of a flotilla this year, the Conscience, the Madlin, the Handala. So there's been numerous attempts over the past 2 decades. This is the first of its scale, so it's unprecedented in terms of its scale, but it's certainly not the first time. And yeah, we're hoping because there's so many boats on fleet this time that it will be a little bit different. But you know, the Gaza has been what they usually call an open air prison, but I don't like to use that term. But it's been under siege and blockaded for over 17 years, and since then, many flotillas have attempted to break the siege.
One of the things that Israel, Bashira, that Prime Minister Netanyahu has been repeatedly saying is that enough aid reaches Gaza and that there is apparently enough that goes in, and not that people in there are malnourished, or for that matter, the aid that goes in reaches the hands of the Hamas. And those who are trying to help or taking a position like the countries that supported Palestine at the United Nations are basically helping these terrorists.
I mean, look, it's not for the US or any other country to determine the fate of Palestine, and that's exactly what we are fighting for, is the self-determination. The US has no right to intervene and put a plan forward for Palestine or any other country in the world. This whole mission is based on fighting for the liberation of Palestine. but also fighting for the end of imperialism, Zionist imperialism, where countries and superpowers like the US, like Israel, like European countries go into the global south countries and determine the fate of those countries, extract resources, exploit people, oppress people. So this whole mission represents the end of Western imperialism, and the fact that the USA and Israel have now come up with a plan. It means nothing. It doesn't. It just continues to um, enable imperialism, and we won't accept that.
There was a proposal, Bashira, that after the warships that were sent by Italy and Spain, and later we saw Italy change its position, saying, okay, leave the aid here and we'll make sure it reaches Gaza, because that's what Israel had asked Italy and other countries to do, that drop off the aid to the nearest countries and the aid will be taken to Gaza by the Israeli forces. That what's your reaction? Why didn't you guys really stop and leave the aid for the aid then to be sent to Gaza?
Yeah, so first of all, not enough aid is getting to Gaza. There's huge warehouses sitting outside in Egypt, in Al Arish, full of aid, with like thousands of trucks waiting outside the border that have not been able to get in months. So that's not true. Second of all, we are just a peaceful, non-violent, civilian-led movement, and we are taking aid to the people of Gaza. We are not affiliated with any political movement or any resistance movement. We are just wanting to get the aid to the people who are starving and who are going through a man-made famine.
Finally, Bashira, are you all prepared for arrests, detentions, being taken and then being deported? Are you prepared for everything and anything that could happen to you should the interceptions happen and the Israeli forces then take you under arrest or detain you?
We have prepared for all scenarios. We have gone through the different likelihoods of how this will play out. We are all prepared. Everything we endure is nothing compared to what the Palestinians endure, and so we are willing to take those risks.
On that note, Basheera Soomar, thank you so much for joining us here on India Today Global. We are wishing and hoping that the aid reaches the people of Gaza, because they badly, badly need it, and hoping that you, all of you, complete your mission and go home safely. Thank you.